country, there's been a dominant perception that Asians don't have a sense of humor. There were famous journalists in the 1800s, such as a man named Bret Harte, one of the top journalists of his time, who visited from the East Coast and wrote back that the Chinese are very strange people, and I don't think I've ever seen one laugh. And in the late 1980s, when the show All American Girl, the first sitcom to feature an Asian American family, also to feature Margaret Cho, when that show was first pitched, one of the producers said, "But where are we going to find 5 funny Asians?" So, you know, this is kind of little examples that there's this kind of dominant perceptions that, you know, Asians are not funny people. You know, they're very supposed to be serious people, overly serious, socially incompetent people, people that can barely speak English, maybe they're not very smart, but, or if they are smart, it's like a very narrow kind of technical expertise, but they're not, you know, kind of smart in a socially, you know, broad, linguistic way, which is necessary to be a stand-up comedian. You've got to be very intelligent, right, and know what's going on.
Thank you.
But I would think that, you know, Asians have that whole, you know, there's that whole stereotype of how we're all very super smart, right? The super minority.
Right, but it's channeled. It's a channeled kind of expertise. It's not in all fields, right? And so that leads to the glass phenomena field, where they what we call the phenomena of the glass ceiling, where despite higher levels of education, Asian Americans have a harder time reaching the levels of leadership and managerial positions, because there's a perception that, well, they're good technicians and we can plug them in at the lower levels, or the, you know, certain kinds of expertise. But when it comes to something like, you know, leadership, we need somebody who is, you know, socially, you know, loose, can talk to everybody, has a good sense of humor.
So how does that play out when you guys are trying to book gigs and when you guys are trying to find an audience? I mean, have you encountered any setbacks, or have there just been, you know, pretty easy sailing?
Well, I'm at a point in my career, I don't pursue gigs anymore because I don't really care. People contact me, I have a website, if you know about me, they write me an email, and then that's how they book me. Not to be cocky, I'm very funny, and I can bring it whenever you want to hire me, and I don't need to be on stage. I'm at that point now, and plus being Asian, you're never going to get a chance, really. It's 1 in a million. It's like winning the lottery. And I'm at that point where I'm not going to break my back anymore. I'm not going to call comedy clubs to get booked. I'm not going to ask anyone to book me. But, you know, and I've had that attitude for the last 5 years. But I make good money where, you know, people will hire me. I get like $5,000 for the corporate event, and then I'm set. I don't have kids. It's just me, so I'm set, you know? But in the past, of course, I did the open mics, I did all that, and you get treated like crap, and being an Asian woman, it's 10 times worse. You get all the horny, crazy Jewish guys, club owners, you know, and being a female, even though I'm a headliner, they're like, we can only give you the feature spot, and a feature spot might pay $800, but they'll go, but we'll give you $400. And so I don't deal with any of that crap. So what happened for me is I'd rent out theaters, and I don't know, I always find an audience, and my audience is not Asian, it's everybody. Like just last weekend in Los Angeles at the Universal City Walk, I sold out 4 shows. We had to turn people away. It's 300 people. And it's like John Lovitz, the John Lovitz Comedy Club. And, you know, like Friday night was all white people and Asians that came, you know, and then Saturday it was all black and Mexicans that saw me. So my audience is everyone, everybody, and my jokes always change, and I don't even talk about being Asian. Why should I if there's no Asians in the audience? But see, it's like John Lovitz will say to me, Tina, you're so funny. Where do you get all these people who love you? I'm going to help your career. See, he says that, but he's not. Because guess what? I'm helping him because I'm selling out the shows, making him money. And my friends will be like, well, John Lovitz came up to you and said he's going to hook you up with his agent. And I'm like, well, of course he said it. This is Hollywood. They all say it. And guess what? I don't believe anybody. So I just do my own thing. I do my show. And if someone wants to hire me, of course I'll go do stand-up. but I don't sit at home going, where's my next gig? I gotta get on stage. I gotta write a new joke. Guess what? I'm not famous. I don't have to write a new joke. Nobody knows my jokes. So I can do the act I did 10 years ago. See what I mean? But I love comedy, and I'm always happy to do it, but I'm at that point where I'm not gonna go looking for work. If somebody wants to find me, they'll find me, and that's what they do now. And I don't care if I never get famous, because you gotta sell out, you really do. And as an Asian, the more stupid you are, the more ching-chong you act, they're like, oh yeah, we got a role for you. And when you think about it, that's really the way it is. Because Ken Jeong, the doctor, he's a great guy, but look at his act, it's all ching-chong craziness, and you got it. And then there's some other Asian guy who's ching-chong, and he's on the Letterman show. As long as you act ching-chong, media will always have something for you. But if you're not a ching-chong, they're like, where are we gonna put that person? So
Are you talking about Joe Wong?
yeah, so it's like, I don't do ching-chong jokes, and people that know me know I'll never do it. And if I never make it big, that's fine, because I still make money doing comedy, I relate with people, I have that connection, we had a great time, and that's really what it is for me. And I make a difference in people's lives. And I do a lot of like narcotics and alcohol, their conferences, they always hire me. And I love performing for them, because, I don't know, you just have a connection, and those are the moments I live for.
It's interesting. I would love to be in your position where I can sit back and be like, hey, you find me. But I'm kind of starting off. I think I'm the newest in this lot of three of us here. Although I don't pursue proactively contacting clubs around the country yet, I have also launched my own tour. We actually did our first 2 shows in April. Edwin hosted one of them, and both shows sold out, so that was a good start. And I do believe sometimes it's good to launch on your own, because that helps you reach out more and gives you the flexibility to do what you want to do, versus when you get into a club environment, there's a very typical what we call the Def Jam comics, and you have to have that formula, and you got to go set up point, one line, quick jokes. I tend to touch the intellectual part a lot more, a little more cerebral think. I like to make people laugh by tickling their brains and not their bums, as I was describing earlier today. So I totally understand when Tina says how some people sell themselves short, take the easy route. I did start out that way because that seemed to be the way comedy worked in America, but now I'm at a point where I am looking to make my own identity. So I do talk about my Indian Jewishness, because that seems to get me a good intriguing start with the audience, and there's a lot more that I talk about besides that. Also, being one of the very few first generation immigrant comedians, my accent is something that also takes a while for people to get over. So when I go up there and I do my first bit and they're waiting for the accent to change back to normal, and it doesn't for the whole act. And I've been doing 60 minutes with the way I speak, and eventually people get over it. And I think that's one of my biggest struggles in the comedy world, is having not grown up in America. There are a lot of references that don't make any sense to me. There is a lot of history and cultural stereotypes and undertones that I don't know of. But I use it to my advantage, where I think every time I do a joke, whether I do it in America or Canada or India, the 3 places I've performed so far, it's going to work without altering a single word. So that helps me kind of globalize myself, and I'm getting ready to perform outside of US as well. So